Thank you. Welcome, everyone, to the February meeting of the Tecumseh Committee of Adjustment. Kind of nice to see you all in person, except for Chris, who is here on the screen. So if anybody's counting members, there are 7 of us. 8 of us, I guess, counting me. So that's a roll call. Call the meeting to order. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest? Seeing none. Minutes were pre-circulated. Motion on the minutes from the last meeting for January 23rd, Tom? And Doug? Any addition, deletion, correction? All in favor? Opposed? Carried? Thank you. So our first application this evening is for the 3-sack self-storage application for certificate of cancellation. I think Chad's gonna, well, we'll let Donna read it, and then Chad's gonna kind of explain to us, because this is the first time we've ever had this kind of application. Go ahead, Donna.
Application for certificate of cancellation BO223, 3-sack Self-Storage Corporation, 5015 Walker Road. The purpose of the application is to request a certificate of cancellation for all in singular that certain parcel or tract of land and premises situate, lying and being in the township of Sandwich South in the county of Essex and being composed of part of farm lot 12, concession 6, designated as part 4 on plan deposited in the registry office for the registry division of Essex number 12 on the 11th day of June 1974 as 12R1564, outlined in red on the sketch. The cancellation certificate of the subject consent, along with the cancellation of the consent via application BO3-23, will result in the consolidation of the properties at 5015 and 5025 Walker Road to form one lot. And there'll be a diagram later that Chad will put on the screen. The property is designated business park in the town of Tecumseh's official plan and zoned industrial M1 in zoning bylaw 85-18. Now heard concurrently with that application is application for certificate of cancellation BO323, 3-sack Self-Storage Corporation, 5025 Walker Road. The purpose of the application is to request a certificate of cancellation for those lands and premises located in the township of Sandwich South in the county of Essex, province of Ontario, and being composed of part of lot 12, concession 6 in the said township of Sandwich South, which lands are more particularly described as part 1 on a plan of reference received and deposited on the 28th day of December 1984 in the Land Registry Office for the Land Registry Division of Essex, number 12, as number 12R-7727. The cancellation of the subject consent, along with the cancellation of the consent via application BO2-23, will result in the consolidation of the properties at 5015 and 5025 Walker Road to form one lot. The property is designated business park in the town of Tecumseh official plan and zoned M1 in zoning bylaw 85-18. Correspondence received is as follows. Engineering. Town engineering endorses this application for the certificate of cancellation as it will ultimately facilitate the design and integration of stormwater management and site servicing provisions for both 5025 and 5015 Walker Road. The consolidation of both lots addresses an approval condition of Public Works and Engineering Services relating to the owner's proposal for the expanded parking and the construction of additional storage units. The County of Essex. The subject lands have frontage on County Road 11. The applicant will be required to comply with the following county road regulations. County bylaw number 2481, a bylaw to provide for the protection of highways and to provide for the installation of entranceways. Bylaw number 2480, a bylaw of the Corporation of the County of Essex to regulate the location of buildings and structures on lands adjacent to county roads. The minimum setback for any proposed structures on this property must be 85 feet from the center of the original right-of-way of County Road 11. Permits are necessary for any changes to existing structures or the construction of new structures. The county is requesting a copy of the decision. Should these applications be approved, they're requesting a copy of the revised survey plan of the subject lands in order to update the mapping system. And they thank us for our cooperation in this matter. Essex County, Essex Region Conservation Authority. A permit is not required for IRCA for issues related to Section 28 of the Conservation Authorities Act. No objection to the application. No comments from building and no comments from fire services.
Okay, thank you very much, Donna. The applicant has a representative here. Could we have him on the screen? Sorry.
Yes, hi. Hi, my
Hi.
name is Monica Drobnicki. I'm counsel for the applicant who has submitted this application. I understand that this is the first time that the committee will be hearing such an application. So of course, we always appreciate a novel topic, and I'd be happy to ask any questions. And if it's helpful, I'd be happy to sort of review what the application is again. But if not, I'm happy to answer any questions that the committee may have.
Oh, okay, thank you very much. I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name.
It's Monica Drobnicki.
Monica. Okay, thank you. Welcome, Monica. Chad, do you want to help us with how to undo a severance?
Certainly. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So due to recent changes to the Planning Act, to Section 53, to be precise, there's now the option to approve these cancellation of consent certificates. And this essentially takes the place of something we used to do in the past when we wanted to break a consent. Because as you know, once the committee makes a decision on a consent to sever, there's a once a consent, always consent principle that applies. To break that consent, we used to have to take a foot strip off the entire frontage of the parcel and convey it to the road authority, whether that be the County of Essex, such as the case here, or the town. And that road authority, the municipality or the county, would have to then accept that and add it to its right of way. And in doing that, you change the configuration, the dimensions of the original lot for which the consent was given. And that effectively broke the consent, and therefore it would merge with abutting lands under the same ownership. So now this change to the Planning Act has eliminated that step, and you can just apply for the cancellation certificate, which is what the applicants have done in this case. And if I just, I'll share the screen here, Mr. Chair. So this is, start with the end result. This is the end result. The applicants want to cancel two consents that were previously granted some time ago in order for the lands to merge and form this parcel you see outlined in red here and shaded in blue. And that will enable them to build additional storage units on the area where you see 5015 Walker, and to do some stormwater management works and some additional paving. And in order to do that, they needed, because there's two separate parcels now, they needed to have the parcels merge. So the two parcels that are merging are this parcel, which was given consent back in 1984. And this strip here that was given consent back in 1974. So if the committee decides to cancel this consent, those two consents tonight, it will be as though they never took place, and the lots will merge with the surrounding lands because they're all under the same ownership of 3SAC storage. There was no notification, public notification required through this process, nor is there a decision a notification of decision to be issued. There's no appeal whether the committee decides to grant it or not to grant it. There's no appeal of that decision. So that's sort of an overview of that process, Mr. Chair. If you have any questions or anyone in the committee has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Yeah, so I give the committee an opportunity to ask questions if they want. It was pretty good description of what's going on, so that's good. Chris is being pensive up there. No questions, Chris? Okay. So we basically accept the application as presented.
Mr. Chair, I believe you would pass a resolution approving the cancellation of the consent, if that's the wish of the committee.
Okay. So as the committee have any other questions, Tom?
Just through you, Chair, to Chad, just a question, a clarification, maybe I guess the western parcel, it's not shaded in red, but it becomes part of the entire parcel at the end of the process. I'm just confused. You talked about the two parcels along the Walker Road corridor. We didn't talk about that part at the end.
Okay, through you, Mr. Chair, and that's a good question. That part then is also under the same ownership as the balance of the land shaded in blue. It just never received consent to sever at any time. So it doesn't have consent. So as soon as the consent on the abutting property is canceled, it will merge with that abutting property. That make sense?
Anybody else? Lori?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a question for administration. I guess two questions. Primarily, why couldn't these applications be consolidated under one application number? I see that we would be approving two cancellation or certificates of cancellation. And the other question is, in the staff report, I did not see a recommendation. And is that for a reason that we should be made aware of? Thank you.
Through Mr. Chair. With respect to the second part of the question, an oversight, we explained the process, what was being requested, but administration is supportive of what they're doing. In fact, this was precipitated by the engineering department because it was reviewing some stormwater management that the applicants were proposing in addition to their storage units. And because there were two separate parcels, they couldn't approve the stormwater management works that were crossing the dividing lot line, essentially. So we're supportive of that. And then with respect to the other question, we viewed it as two separate applications because there were two separate consents being requested for cancellation.
So if I could add something to that, it's just a point of clarification. The description and explanation from Mr. Jeffrey was a very good one. The only thing I would clarify is that there are actually technically three consents, except two of them refer to the exact same land. So only one certificate of cancellation would be required. It would essentially reference the exact same legal description and therefore be registered on one parcel of land. And then there is another consent that references different lands. So we would need a second certificate of cancellation that would be registered on those lands, and draft certificates of cancellation were included with my application.
Okay, thank you very much. So we need a motion to, I'm sorry, Chad, accept.
Mr. Chair, yeah, I would recommend that the committee consider passing a resolution approving the cancellation of consent in accordance with the description contained in the notice.
Okay,
Which is kind of lengthy and full of legalese, and that's for that reason we wanted it. We took the description that the proponent's solicitor provided us with and put it directly into the plan and report.
all right, good. Somebody want to make that motion then? That Chad just described. Tony?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I do have one question, actually. So are we justifying these certificates of cancellation based on the 4 test, or is it just in good planning principle?
Mr. Chair, it's actually through the consent to sever section of the Planning Act, so section 53. So the 4 tests don't apply, and you would be approving it based on good planning principles essentially and
Okay.
good technical reasons.
So did I hear a motion from you yet?
Then, Mr. Chair, yes, I will make a motion that we approve this certificate of cancellation. It's good planning principle to join these properties. It makes the property bigger. It does help with the stormwater management.
Yeah.
So for these reasons, I would make a motion that we would approve this.
Supported by Tom? Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried, unanimous. Okay, thank you very much, Marilyn.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Donna.
Application for consent BO 523, Lindquist Brothers Bake Company Limited, 1650 Shawnee Road. The purpose of the application is to sever a lot having a frontage of 14.98 meters, 49.1 feet, a depth of 67.8 meters, 222.4 feet, and a lot area of 955.7 square meters, 10,286 square feet, which is outlined on the sketch attached to the application. The proposed retained lot will have a frontage of 15.2 meters, 50 feet, a depth of 67.5 meters, 221.4 feet, and a lot area of 1,028.5 square meters, 11,070.5 square feet, outlined on green on the attached sketch. As a condition of consent, the severed and retained parcels will require a zoning bylaw amendment to rezone the lands into site-specific residential zone 1 to facilitate the construction of a single-unit dwelling and establish a site-specific minimum lot frontage. The existing commercial building and accessory building that occupy the property are to be demolished. The lands are designated residential in Tecumseh official plan and zone neighborhood commercial zone C2-2 in zoning bylaw 85-18. The following correspondence was received. Engineering, that the applicant enter into and provide the town of Tecumseh a written agreement for the reapportionment of the drainage assessment for the subject lands in accordance with section 65-2 of the Ontario Drainage Act, RSO 1990, as amended, and the associated costs of same be borne solely by the applicant. That the applicant be required to service the parcel to be severed with separate water supplied to the satisfaction of the town of Tecumseh Water Services Division prior to the severance being finalized. Note, permits from the town of Tecumseh Water Services Division are required, and the town water operator is to be on site during the installation of the water services. That the applicant be required to service the parcel to be severed with separate sanitary and stormwater connections to the satisfaction of the town of Tecumseh Public Works Division prior to the severance being finalized. That the applicant be required to provide an engineered drainage and grading plan prepared by a qualified professional engineer for the severed and retained parcel to the satisfaction of the town of Tecumseh building official prior to the severance being finalized. The cost of all servicing requirements will be at the expense of the applicant. That the applicant be required to obtain permits from the town of Tecumseh Public Works Division and install access driveways with culverts if required in accordance with town of Tecumseh standards from Shawnee Road to the parcel to be severed and potentially the retained parcel if the driveway improvements are required prior to the severance being finalized. IRCA's comments. A permit is not required from IRCA for issues related to Section 28 of the Conservation Authorities Act. No objection with this application. No comments from building and no comments from fire services.
Okay, thank you very much, Donna. Is there someone who can speak to this for the applicant? Is there somebody in the waiting room should turn their camera on?
I don't know, can you hear me? I don't know if you can hear me now. It's John King.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we can hear you, John. Thank you.
I don't have a camera. I'm out of town. The camera's not working.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. We can hear you very well.
Okay, good.
Uh,
So regarding this, basically, we have the block there that's a commercial block that we're knocking the buildings down and making the two lots, making two commercial or residential, back to residential there that fit in that area, basically. It's pretty straightforward.
Okay.
If you guys
Thank
got
you.
any questions, I'm here to
going
answer.
ask the committee if they have any questions.
Sure.
Nobody? Lori?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. A question to the applicant. Have you had a chance to review the list of proposed conditions as a part of the staff report, and would they be suitable to complete within 2 years, in your opinion?
Yes, would actually, if this was to be processed and okayed with on the consent, I would get on it right away. So as far as following what the towns want in the public works and that process for this, there's no problem getting on it as soon as we can, as soon as this would be processed.
Okay,
Furthermore, thank you.
Thank you.
Just to confirm to administration, there are not any associated minor variances with this application, correct?
Through you, Mr. Chair. No, because we're taking care of that through the necessary rezoning. So there'll be a zoning bylaw amendment as a condition of this severance in order to remove the bait shop as a permitted use and to allow just residential. And as part of that, we would define minimum lot frontage in accordance with what's being proposed because it's less than what the current zone permits.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Chair, to Mr. Jeffrey. So is it safe to assume then that the two lots would be suitable in size and width for a dwelling in the future, considering that the rezoning will incorporate minor variances for the minimum lot width?
Yes, again, through Mr. Chair. Yeah, 50 feet of frontage is a fairly standard conventional lot. This is an area of the municipality where it developed historically on large lots, 10,000 square foot minimum area, 70 foot frontage. But there are lots within the vicinity of the subject property that are 50 feet. So it's appropriate for the area. And it's also appropriate from the context of provincial policy statement and county OP and our own OP that's encouraging more compact development and intensification.
anybody else? I just, maybe further to that, Lori, the lot to the south of this property looks like it's about that dimension as well, right? So it fits in the neighborhood. Anybody else have questions? I have one about, Mr. King, the overhead picture that we have shows the lot line going through the center of the driveway to the north. And I'm just wondering, it could be just a parallax problem from the way the picture is taken, but that driveway may or may not be problematic. Do you know if it's on the property or not?
Yes, so the property to the south is actually the owners of the bait place, the Linquis's. Wayne lives there, so that driveway is half and half. That driveway has to be taken off and moved over a few feet to his side. Yes, right now he made it because he likes to put his working truck there because the factory's there, so he puts it on that side. Whereas he has a driveway on the other side of his house, but he made another driveway just because it's more convenient for him to go into his so-called shop there with the bait shop. So that will be moved. That will be moved out at my expense for the next door neighbor, which is the owner right now of all the property.
Okay. I just didn't want to create a problem with the entrance by
No,
talking
not at
about
all.
the- Yeah, okay.
Each new proposed lot will have their own driveway. So you'll have your 50 footers. So each one will have a 20-foot driveway on each 50-foot lot. And
Okay.
that particular driveway that's part and part will not be there.
Okay. Perfect.
Okay?
Any other questions from the committee? I've lost Chris. You have any questions, Chris?
No, I appreciate it. The only question I had, Mr. Chair, was regarding the width of the property, but Mr. Jeffries answered that pretty good.
Okay. In that case, we have no one else in the waiting room there to talk about this one, I guess, so looking for a decision. A motion? Lori? Oh, is he? Dave, is there other people in the waiting room on this one?
I believe there is. There's Roger
yeah.
and Liz, Jeff
I
and
see
two Jeffs.
Mr. Jobin. You need to unmute. Not getting your sound. Down in the bottom left corner of your screen, there's probably a little microphone.
It looks like it's unmuted, but it's not. We're still not hearing it.
Give you a chance to sort that out, Jeff. No,
No, we're still not hearing you, Mr. Jobin.
you're auditioning for that commercial. Can you hear me now? Sorry.
Lori just said he changes speaker setting.
Yeah, if you want to look, Mr. Jobin, we're
Can you hear
on
me
the
now?
bottom.
Yep,
Oh,
there
yes,
you
you
are.
can. Yes.
You got me
That's
now?
better.
Okay, sorry.
Yep. Okay, so
Sorry
you
for
had
the
comments on
there.
this one, Jeff?
I just got a question with regards to how the town, like, like my property backs onto both of the proposed properties.
Mhm.
So my concern is just water mitigation because there's like heavy flooding back there as it is. So I'm just concerned about with new builds, if the properties get raised up with new bylaws or however the town like approves the new builds, how do we make sure that that doesn't create even a bigger problem?
Okay, thank you. We get that question a lot, and we do have processes in building permit stage to get a design that directs the water from the back of the lot out to the drain at the front. But I'll let Chad go into that a little more.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, as part of the building permit review process, they'll be required to install rear yard drainage and take it out to the storm sewers, along the road in front of it. So they will have to ensure that the property is designed so that stormwater that falls on the property is collected and conveyed away from abutting properties.
Okay, because I like none of those properties currently have any type of drainage in the back. Obviously, they're very deep properties. So that's, I mean, right now, I mean, as we speak, and even in all the photos the town has on file, show where there's like massive, almost to water to the buildings that are there during rainstorms. So I've had problems with my pool in the past and had to redo things and liners because of excess groundwater. So I'm just, I want to make sure that that is going to be a major issue in the future with two houses there, that it will make it worse.
Okay, thanks, Jeff. One of the conditions will be that the applicant provide an engineered drainage and grading plan prepared by a qualified professional engineer for the severed and retained parcels to the satisfaction of the building official prior to the severance being finalized. So that has to be done. How he's going to do it has to be decided before the severance actually happens.
Okay.
And then when he builds the houses, it'll be dealt with by the building department.
Would I get notified of what their process is going to be or how they plan on addressing that issue?
Well, you have to, I mean, will you be involved in the design? No.
No,
the,
but what I,
Because
you
there'll
know,
be a qualified professional engineer who will
okay,
decide if this design's gonna work.
okay, and what
I have
happens?
to remind you, if there's water back there that's coming from your property
For sure.
and contributing to that, he won't, the applicant won't be able to deal with that, won't have to deal with that. So
Fair
if there's water remains, you may have a problem just with that if you want to get rid of it, but he won't make it any worse.
Okay,
All right?
thank you.
Okay. Any other question? None? None? Chris? No? Ben? Oh, I'm
There,
sorry.
Mr. Chair, there is one more delegate that I think just re-entered the room. Roger and Liz. They're just connecting, so you might want to check with them.
Yeah, okay, we'll wait. I'm looking to see if any committee members also want to.
Okay, I believe they should be connected now.
So if they turn their camera on, we'll be able to see them, right?
Yes. I've asked them to turn on their camera.
There we go.
Or did they just disconnect? No, there they are. There's their camera.
Roger and Liz.
What?
Gilbo.
You'll- Okay, we see the camera, but we don't see any activity. They need to turn their microphone on too.
I believe their microphone is on, but I'm not hearing any audio.
Being
1637 Shawnee. Across the street. Okay. The Gilbos have left the building here.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with them.
Do we have a phone number? Apparently not.
I do not have one. I don't know if Donna does.
Oh, I do. I do have a phone number.
Hmm.
979 3036.
Mr. Chair. Would you like me to call and
Please.
put them on speaker?
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll do an old fashioned connection. They'll get a notice of the decision. Sorry?
Live stream.
My apology, Mr. Chair. So Mrs. Gibble has no concerns with it. Just wanted to hear what was being proposed and is concerned about, not necessarily concerned with the consent, but with future construction and construction vehicles using her driveway to turn around.
Okay. Well, I mean, there's a cul-de-sac at the end of the road, so it's not a problem. Them going down there and turn around, I would suspect. But that's a traffic matter and that would happen at the time of construction. So sounds like we have no problem with the neighbors. So we need a motion then to provide the consent. Lori?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In the case of application B0523 for consent to sever, I would suggest that the application meets the intent of the zoning bylaw and the official plan and would provide for intensification, or rather infill development, an opportunity to add additional dwelling units within the town center. For those reasons, I would move to approve the application, approve the consent with the proposed conditions as set forward in the staff report. Thank you.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? I have trouble with my muting here. All right, thank you. Unanimous. And so now we're on 3015 North Tolland.
Okay,
Application
thank
for
you.
minor.
I'm
Application.
sorry.
What's that? Somebody talking?
I'm sorry, we were breaking in and out there. It's Mr. King. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee. Appreciate that very much.
Okay, thanks for your patience.
No problem. Thank you.
Application for minor variance AO 223-240-3569 Ontario Inc. 3015 North Talbot Road. The purpose of the application is to request relief from the subsection 14.1.9C of zoning bylaw 85-18, which establishes a minimum side yard width of 6 meters, 19.68 feet. The proposed relief will facilitate the construction of a 15,440 square foot addition to the industrial building on the property that will have an easterly side yard width of 5.4 meters, 18 feet, as depicted on the attached site plan. In addition, relief is being sought to permit a zero side yard for an existing pergola that is utilized by both properties at 3015 North Talbot Road and 3065 North Talbot Road. Please note that minor variance A13-13 was granted on May 21, 2013 to provide relief from subsection 14.1.9 2.16 of zoning bylaw 85-18 to permit 26 parking spaces in the front yard. The property is designated business park in the Tecumseh official plan and zoned industrial M1 in zoning bylaw 85-18. Engineering correspondence is as follows. The town engineer has no comments regarding the requested minor variance. Public Works and Engineering Services is presently working with the owner and its consultant regarding site servicing and stormwater management as part of the site plan control process in relation to the construction of the proposed building addition at this address. IRCA's comments, a permit is not required from IRCA for any issues related to Section 28 of the Conservation Authorities Act. If the property is subject to site plan control, IRCA is requesting to be included in the circulation of the site plan control application. They reserve to comment further on stormwater management concerns until they have an opportunity to review the specific details of the proposal through the site plan control process. No comments from building and no comments from fire services.
Okay, so there are two applications that are very similar. They're neighboring properties. The question of the pergola affects both of them. So why don't we talk about that one first? And just see what we think. Because that is a variance as well, isn't it? Being asked for? Yeah. Between the two buildings, there's a wooden fence in a place where probably picnic tables behind it. I didn't go and look and see. So
Would you like me?
we'll talk about that one first.
Would you like me to read out AO3 as well?
Well, they're going to be separate decisions, but yeah, you can, just so there's somebody here on this as well? Is it the same person that's here for both of them?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, good. Then we can talk about them both at the same time. Thank you. Go ahead.
Application for minor variance AO3 23-252-1809 Ontario Inc., 3065 North Talbot Road. The purpose of the application is to request relief from subsection 14.19C of zoning bylaw 85-18, which establishes a minimum side yard width of 6 meters, 19.68 feet. The proposed relief for a 0 side yard width is being requested for an existing pergola that is utilized by both properties at 3015 North Talbot Road and 3065 North Talbot Road, as depicted in the attached plan. The property is designated Business Park in Tecumseh official plan and zoned industrial M1 in zoning bylaw 85-18. And the comments from engineering are the same, and the comments from IRCA are the same, and there are no comments from building and fire services.
And there's no public comments. Okay. Who's with us?
Dennis from Rosati Construction.
Okay, Dennis. Is there anything else we need to know about this?
No, it's a very simple cleanup of the minor variance for the minor variance because we're going to move forward on applications for the additions on both buildings.
So these companies must work well together because they're sharing an outside lunch area, I guess, eh?
It's actually the same company. Select Tool operates both buildings.
Okay. Well, I just said I see two Ontario Limited Company numbers on the apps. Okay. Questions from the committee? Don?
Just I guess a point that I had question to Mr. Jeffries, that the pavilion would be registered on title. And if the ownership of these properties were to change, that title may or may not have to be revised. just for the record.
Through Mr. Chair, we're going through the site plan control process with respect to both properties. And as part of that process, we intend to include in the corresponding site plan control agreement a clause related to the pavilion area that establishes how maintenance and future repairs and that sort of thing of the pavilion will be handled. And that agreement will be registered on title. So if one of the properties was sold in the future, the purchaser would see that there's this clause related to that pavilion registered against the title of lands.
Right. So it probably should also talk about the extent of the relief. How big an area that pergola consists of and doesn't run all the way to the back of the building, you know, that sort of thing.
If the committee, Mr. Chair, wants to, it can tighten up the nature of the decision by referring to the pergola as it exists. But that is what they're applying for. It's in the application. It's in the sketch that was provided. So it's implied, but.
It's good. Is that a problem for you?
No, that's fine. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, any other questions from anybody? Seeing none, somebody want to make a motion? Thomas?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that the application A023 be approved, and that the restrictions, the what's the word I want to say, the title reflect the size of the pergola structure, and I guess the maintenance will be included in the conditions, not on the easement or on the title. So for those reasons, I think it makes good sense. It meets the general purpose and the intent, and
I'm just checking something. So it's A0223 and A0323.
A0323 as well.
Okay. Seconder. Doug. Thank you. Any other discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Good. All right.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee members.
Thank you. So I've been doing this backwards. What I should do is I should get Stephen and Jennifer Roy on the screen before you read it. Or whoever's speaking to their application. There we go.
Hi, this is Stephen Roy. Jennifer won't be joining us today.
Okay. Well, welcome, Stephen.
Thank
We're going to
you.
read
Thanks for
we're
having
going to
me.
read the application.
Application for minor variance A0423, Stephen and Jennifer Roy, 12238 Riverside Drive. The purpose of the application is to request relief from the following subsections of zoning bylaw 1746. Subsection 5.251BI, which establishes that a garage may be built in the front yard for lots that abut Lake St. Clair, provided it is not built closer to the front lot line than the minimum distance required by this bylaw for the main building on the lot, and other provisions of this bylaw are complied with. Subsection 5.251DI, which establishes that accessory buildings in residential zones shall not exceed 10% of the total lot area or 90 square meters, 969 square feet in area, whichever is the lesser, and no individual accessory building or structure shall exceed 70 square meters, 753 square feet in area. Subsection 5.251EI, which establishes that accessory buildings in residential zones shall not exceed 4.5 meters, 15 feet in height, and subsection 5.252A, which establishes that pools shall only be permitted in the rear or side yards of the lot. The applicant is requesting relief to construct an 87.9 square meter, 946 square foot accessory building, 16.9 square meters, 181.7 square feet, of which is open roofed balcony area having a height of 6.7 meters, 22 feet. The applicant is also proposing to construct a 286 square foot pergola in the front yard, resulting in a total building area for all accessory structures, proposed detached garage and the proposed pergola of 114.5 square meters, 1,232 square feet, in accordance with the attached sketch. The installation of an in-ground pool is also being requested in the front yard. The subject property is designated residential in the official plan and zoned residential R1 in zoning bylaw 1746. Correspondence received is as follows. Engineering. Town engineering has no comments regarding the requested minor variance. It should be noted that no additional service connections for water, storm, or sanitary will be permitted into existing town infrastructure to provide service to the proposed building. Any service connections to the proposed building must make use of the existing lines presently servicing the subject lot. IRCA's comments. The above noted lands are subject to our development interface with wetlands and alterations to shorelines and watercourse regulations under the Conservation Authorities Act. The parcel falls within the regulated area of Lake St. Clair. The property owner will be required to obtain a permit from IRCA prior to any construction or site alteration or other activities affected by Section 28 of the Conservation Authorities Act. The lower lying nature of the roadway in this area may result in IRCA in excess water over the road in a flood event. IRCA advises the town and the municipal emergency services, fire, police, confirm that they have the ability to access this parcel in order to fulfill the roles and responsibilities of first responders during times of flooding and in order to fulfill the municipality's responsibilities under Section 3.1.7 of the provincial policy statement. The proposed developments will also be required to meet the minimum required flood-proofing elevation requirements. No comments from building, no comments from fire. Essex Power's comments are as follows. The property has underground service wire feeding the house. Wire goes from the pole located in the front of the property to the meter base on the house that looks to be in the way. The customer will have to make arrangements with Essex Power lines and pay to relocate his hydro service wire. The approximate location of the customer's hydro secondary wire was shown on the diagram provided by Essex Power. No further, actually, in addition to comments that were received at the time of preparing the report, information was received this afternoon that the following residents are in or have no concerns with the above proposal. So Mary Chidola at 122246 Riverside Drive, Chris Curry at 12237 Riverside Drive, Jill Hooper at 12226 Riverside Drive, and John Kubinek at 1222 Riverside Drive.
Thank you, Donna. Who's here? Stephen.
Stephen, yes.
Yeah. I'd ask you, I usually ask at this time if the proponent has anything they'd like to add. The newest thing for us is the hydro wire, but you probably knew about that.
I did not upfront, but I believe the home builder that we're working with has experience designing and arranging the proper methodology.
Well, the way the hydro's diagram shows it, the hydro wire would likely go right through the middle of the pool, so it's probably going to have to be moved. For sure.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And there'll be a cost for that, I'm sure.
Yeah, just so you know that.
Okay.
Any of the committee have any questions for the opponent? Tom?
Maybe to the applicant, the part of the building comments were that the development would accommodate the existing water and sewer connections. I'm not sure if you are aware where they are. If they're along the sides, but along the same theme as the electrical service line, those utilities may also have to be accommodated, or as they put it, must be used.
Taken into account at least.
Yeah.
Understood.
On the application itself, anything? Nothing? Anybody? Paul?
Through you, Mr. Mayor's question for Chad, just wondering if the surrounding neighbors have any concerns about the presentation.
Through Mr. Chair. So the neighbors that signed the petition in favor of it are the surrounding neighbors. And when I had that up, I know I was using the mouse to try and identify that, but it's hard to see it. So the neighbors to the east and the two neighbors to the west, as well as the neighbor across the road from the subject property, all have no concerns with it. Okay.
Through you, Mr. Chair, my question would be for the applicant. On the application, it showed a bathroom being proposed in the garage. Is there any intention of creating a second unit within that garage on the upper floor?
The upper floor, the main intention for the garage is excess space. With our current garage, we use that for cars, storage, keeping them dry, whatever. But you know, a variety of storage. If we have the garage and the pool, shower, bathroom, for cleanup and potential seating space, you know, in between, utilizing that.
So I guess the second part of my question would be for administration. How would this plan come into play with the ARU policies of the town?
Again, through you, Mr. Chair. So if in the future the landowner wanted to convert that space to an ARU, it would meet the current provisions in the town zoning bylaw. Because it would be a second story ARU, which wouldn't be affected by the minimum elevation from ERCA, and we've addressed the other ERCA concerns. So it meets the provisions of the ARU regulations that we have in place now. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? Lori?
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Just a question to, it would be administration, I suppose, to Mr. Jeffrey. There is a comment from ERCA about the, oh gosh, excess water over the road in a flooding event, and that ERCA advises that the town and EMS, specifically fire and police, confirm that the ability to access this parcel would be possible. How would the town and EMS confirm this? I don't see any comments from fire services or EMS as a part of this application. So if you could just enlighten us on how that's completed. Thank you.
So through Mr. Chair, the town a few years ago undertook a study regarding flood response and adopted that study, as well as purchased the deep water rescue vehicle. And that was at the sort of direction of ERCA at the time, so that we could address the section in the provincial policy statement that speaks to the deep water circumstances. So how that normally gets addressed is we would have a letter from the fire chief indicating that they have the ability to go in there and rescue people if necessary. We didn't receive comments from the fire chief through this application process, but it would probably be pertinent to include that as a condition of the variance if the committee decides the variance is appropriate, to add as a condition that the fire chief confirm that the town has the ability to get to the property if necessary.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for the question. Anybody else? Doug?
Through you, Mr. Chair, to administration. I know it was mentioned, but I just wondered if you could go over it for me again. I know for an exterior building separate from the house garage, there is a maximum height. What is the difference between what the town allows and what they're proposing in feet and foot wise?
Okay, through you, Mr. Chair. So the maximum height for an accessory structure is 4.5 meters or 15 feet. And what the proponents are proposing is a maximum height of where is it? 22 feet, so 7 feet higher.
And that's measured to the midpoint of the roof.
With a slanted roof, it's measured to the midpoint between the
Yeah.
peak and the troughs.
Yeah. Anybody else?
Mr. Chair,
I'm sorry.
I just have one question for administration as well. Just wondering if Mr. Jeffrey could just enlighten me on what is the precedent on regarding front yard pools in the area? Does he recall, is this a regular occurrence?
Through Mr. Chair. This, in terms of it being a regular occurrence, if you're referring to pools in the front yard, it's not a regular occurrence. There is I think there is an example of where a pool has been constructed in the front yard along Riverside Drive. Riverside Drive is a very unique area. And in my planning report, the department wanted to stress that the circumstances and the conditions related to this application are unique, and that is one of the reasons we were able to consider it, because you wouldn't support the construction of a pool in the front yard of a conventional lot. It wouldn't fit. It wouldn't be appropriate. In this case, due to the depth of the lot, due to the proposed garage, and we do make a suggestion that the committee might want to consider the garage being built prior to the pool being built for this reason. But with that garage there and the landscaping, the positioning of the adjacent dwellings and buildings, and their amenities, corresponding amenity spaces, we believe that the committee can consider this, but we wanted to stress it's a very unique situation, and that's what the minor variance process is for, to consider relief like this under unique circumstances. Does that answer your question, Mr. Lemon?
Yes, thank you. I was more concerned whether you had any major concerns with it, but it seems that it's something obviously you guys have taken into account, of course. Thank you.
Lori?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So further to Mr. Landman's comment about the construction of the pool in the front yard, and I did see in the staff report that there was a recommendation to impose a condition to have the garage built first. So just to reiterate what you had just explained, Mr. Jeffrey, would you say that that condition is for the purposes of a buffer or screening tool prior to the construction of a pool in a front yard for privacy reasons?
Yes, for both private, Mr. Chair, through you, for both privacy reasons and for sort of the aesthetics of the streetscape. If the garage was built and you were walking along the sidewalk or driving down the road, you would see a garage. You would not see a pool on there, and so it would be hidden from view, from public view. But for both of those reasons, that's why we recommended the garage be built prior to it.
Okay. Go ahead.
Thank you once again. Through you, Mr. Chair, to the applicant, would you have an issue with that condition being imposed? In other words, or maybe would the contractor have an issue with building the garage first and then the pool?
I don't see any problem with that. Using two different contractors working in coordination, we can definitely consider that.
Seeing that.
Could you hear me okay?
Yeah, we could hear you. Okay. You couldn't hear me. Okay. Though. We gotta
Okay,
turn-
no, I didn't catch that. Yeah.
No, I say you must be really good friends with your neighbor to the east because you share a driveway and you seem to get along.
Right,
So-
right.
so-
We're very blessed to have
Right.
incredible
So
neighbors.
ordinarily, that's not allowed, but was that approved at some point a long time ago or?
I believe the Chidola family owned both properties at one point, and I believe the driveway was even there before they may have owned the properties, and then so it must have been approved at one point.
Okay.
Years ago, I think Chidolas had been there for, gosh, since 80s, so must have been previous to that.
Okay, just an observation. I don't think anything would come of it, except if one of you decides to sell, there might be a question about that being something that would need to be dealt with at that time. Okay.
Understood.
All right, any more questions? Somebody want to make a motion? Tony, you've been so quiet. Give you an opportunity.
So in that case, I will make a motion that we accept minor variance application A0423. I believe it's in good planning nature. It meets the 4 tests. So for those reasons, we'll make that motion.
Thomas?
With the comment
Yeah,
that, is it appropriate?
yeah,
Oh, that the requirement for the garage construction to be completed before the pool.
okay. Friendly amendment, yes?
Friendly amendment.
Also, one additional friendly amendment to that, an amendment to the amendment to require a letter from the town's fire chief to ensure that, oh gosh, what would it be called? The excess water over the road in a flooding event can be accessed during that, or the dwelling could be accessed for emergency purposes.
It's okay.
Yes.
All right, with those 2 additions on the conditions. Anybody else? Okay, on the motion, all in favor? Oh. Tony and Tom. Tom seconded with comments. All right, all in favor? All in favor. Unanimous. Thank you very much, Stephen.
Thanks for the time and consideration, everybody.
Okay, so that's the applications for this evening. No deferrals. Unfinished business. We had a discussion about OACA membership. Have all the,
Registered, yeah.
okay, so the procedure is if you want to be a member of the OACA and get their correspondence and the ability, if we do decide to go, to be able to go to their conference, you need to be a member. We're asking you to go online with your member number. Some of you will have to sign up. The new members will have to sign up for it. There's a there's a tick box to pay your membership for the year. So we ask you to do that. At the end of that, you get an invoice, paid invoice in your email. Send that to Donna, she'll reimburse you, okay? That's the name of that tune. Anything else? Do you have anything? Anybody else have anything? So I guess we can adjourn. If somebody wants to move it. Thomas and Tony. All right. We're adjourned. Thank you.